It is that time, everybody. It's Wednesday. We are wizards. So let's have ourselves a cult meeting. Channeling in from the Quantum Downs, it is Elf
And Dotta,
for this Wizard Wednesday. Bear Snake, are you here too?
I see him here.
I am
There he is.
I am in full
Oh,
form, full form. Little tired. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm ready for Wizard Wednesday.
Half man, half bear, half snake.
It's a lot. That's a lot of halves.
The mathematical anomaly. So, on the light of the third day, I looked to the east, and Dotta had put my soul on a pony. But not only that, we have ponies covered in ectoplasmic slime, donuts riding ponies, and ponies in coffins. Dotta, what do you think of the souls on ponies?
oh, they are just adorable. You know, one of the things I think is so funny is that you and I will put little Easter eggs in, and the cult finds them like immediately. Like I was hoping that like the undesirable ponies would be like a surprise, people would discover tomorrow
Yeah,
or something. And it was like within the first 2 minutes, people were like, oh, we gotta try the slime.
I know. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Like all of it was discovered right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
uh, I had so much fun making those. Because number one, I just love the Souls collection so much. The more I look at it, the more I love it. It's given us this whole new cast of characters that just expand the world. And then I just think they're really good looking characters, if I do say so myself. I tried to limit the palette so that it's mostly focused on purples and greens, which I felt were really ghostly colors, and so that's one reason I think they feel very coherent. Um, but then, yeah, seeing them ride the ponies it's just got this whole new effect that's really fun. It's really great seeing a skeleton or a ghoul or a lich riding a pony. Um, and then we were like, after we got all the main soul characters riding, we were like, oh shit, what do we do with the undesirables? Um, and so we just started brainstorming really fun things to do. And so yeah, I love the little field of flowers that they're in. I love the coffins. That's hilarious. The orbs are super cool. And this is just what I love about this project, just coming up with these really fun creative things, giving them new functions, giving them new life, and just seeing new ways to use these things just all the time. It's so much fun.
yeah, and it's also good to be able to have just like another moment where we can kind of explore, what the undesirables mean. Like I think the orbs, for example, the spirit orbs are a good example of like you're able to use the spirit orb and it really lights up your pony, and that just like hints towards all of this future potential to those souls.
For sure. Yep. 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 That's what's fun about this space is it's constantly innovating, constantly growing, constantly being added to. I love it. Um, so yeah, and just okay, so on another note, shifting gears, I'm sure most of you saw we tweeted today that we were there's an article in Vogue Business about burning mechanisms.
Yeah, it was
And
fun.
yeah, it's really cool that they asked us of all people to explain burn mechanisms. Because like clearly Vogue wants to use a burn mechanism for something totally different. And so I love that they came to us though to get just like a unique perspective on what burning tokens can be. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah, and I think
enjoyed talking to that writer. What do you think,
so.
Dodo?
Yeah, it was Megan, and she was really sharp, and had a lot of really interesting questions. I think it was actually Bam Bam that introed us to her.
Yeah.
Um,
It was. It was. So shout out to
yeah, so
Bam Bam.
thank
That
you.
was
Shout out to Bam
awesome.
Bam.
And then also
Yeah, thank you.
a fun little anecdote is I was not on the interview, so I'm being quoted. I think she put Dota's words in my mouth, which
Yeah.
feels really uncomfortable. It feels like I'm chewing teeth because
No,
he
no.
just has a way he has way better time with words. But that was Dota. It was not the bear.
It's fine. Yeah, we speak as a unit. But I think that, yeah, there are so many interesting ideas in the burning space. I think, one of the ideas that she brought up that I thought was interesting out of that conversation. She was like, "Oh, have you heard about meta Birkins?" And I hadn't. Um, but my wife knew right away like what Birkin bags were, and she was saying, "Oh yeah, like Birkin is suing Meta Birkins um, over like basically infringing the design of their bags." And she was like, "Could they get them all off the market by buying them all up and then just like burning them?" And I was like, "Well, kind of, right? Like if anyone in crypto hears that immediately, and you're like, well, technically yes, but practically no, because as soon as you start buying them up, all of the people who own them already are going to like think of them as even more valuable before, and they're going to make you pay an arm and a leg, and you might not even be able to afford buying them all." And so, one of the things that I suggested is if Birkin wanted to kind of issue, like, if Birkin wanted to get Meta Birkins off the market, what they should do is they should issue their own, official Birkin bag NFTs, and then require that someone burn a Meta Birkin to get one, or provide an incentive for burning a Meta Birkin. And that's a way you can kind of judo move and take your competitor off the market while then providing something that's even more valuable. But she said, no, they're probably not going to do that. They're probably just going to sue them. So,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's such a legacy way to do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was very cool. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I started a press channel in our Discord where I'm keeping all the articles I can find about Forgotten Runes. So it'll be a nice little archive if you want to share articles with newcomers or whoever. It'll all be in that press channel. So yeah, I put the Vogue article there just this morning. Okay, another cool thing that's happened lately is the Book of Lore survey that we put out. Awesome job, guys. We got so many responses on that. I'm so glad we did it. You guys really put a lot of thought and effort into this. Um, it's the results are still coming in, so I'm not going to fully divulge all of our learnings just yet because I still want any latecomers to have a chance to fill out the survey. But I'll tell you my first impressions so far. They're more or less what I expected, which is a good thing. And I think like one of the biggest reasons we're doing this survey is to answer this question, which is uh, should we implement an archive or erase feature for current wizard owners in the Book of Lore? That is, if you buy a wizard with previous lore, what options should you have in dealing with that lore? This is a question that we think about a lot. And I think I've seen a lot of chatter in the cult dealing with this question. So, it's something that we're addressing. The survey is a part of the way we're dealing with it. And so personally, one question that really stood out to me in the entire survey was just about ranking your primary reasons for creating lore. I personally just wanted to know, like, what's the biggest reason you create lore? Why do you do it? What's the biggest motivation for doing it? Um, and according to the survey, thus far, the number one reason is simply that you enjoy the act of creation. And I think that's fantastic. That would have been my top reason. I think that is the best reason to create anything is you simply enjoy it. And so I'm really glad that answer is like at the top of the list, because I think like that's the kind of spirit we need to propel this project to the Citadel. They say that community is everything in the NFT space. And I think the best way to build a community is to galvanize it around a passionate purpose. Um, and then what else is great is the number two reason, which again I think is this is the perfect number two reason, is because you enjoy the collaborative legendarium. You enjoy building the world. I'm so glad that that is the number two reason because that's the whole mission of this project. Um, so anyway, the survey is going really great. I'm not going to say too much more because I don't want to sway the opinions of anyone who hasn't filled it out yet. So if you haven't done so, please go to the announcements channel in our Discord. There's still time to fill it out. Dotta or Bear, do you want to say anything about it?
It's interesting when you say this idea of like, should we have an archive or erase feature? You said it is something we think about a lot. It's like a very gentle way of putting it. So one of the things about Alf and I is that we are very like open with one another about our opinions, and we're both very
Yeah.
like passionate. And
Yep.
so, um, yeah, so like, I think I've said this before, there are times where we'll get into like near fist fights over sort of like, should there be bubbles of like beer, like over the pixels of like a tankard or something, like, and we'll like have these huge arguments or whatever. And part of the reason why, you know, Elf and I will probably be together forever is because we can actually have these like knockout, drag out debates, and we feel so differently about it in the beginning, and then like we generally come to some like agreement, but then also we're like happy to kind of like not even forgive and forget so much as just like work through it forward and like seeing the other person's perspective. It's like grow together actually is how I think of
Yep.
it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, for my part, like whenever we have these arguments, I don't take any of it personally. Like
Yeah,
it
me either.
never offends me
Yeah,
personally because I
yeah.
because I know that we both want the same thing, which is the success of the project. And
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I've read that like Penn and Teller like don't like each other. Or that like Jamie and Adam from like Mythbusters, same thing. Like they just can't stand each other. And I'm and they create these like really wonderful things as like a pair, even though they're so different. And I'm thankful that we're not like that. Like actually, even
Yeah,
like if
no,
we
we
have,
do
it
not
would
dislike
not
each
be
other.
like it's not animosity. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I do think of those like creative pairs where it's because of that kind of like uh, yeah, two different ways of viewing the world that like come together to create something magical.
for sure. Yeah. Yep, yep. And and that's again another part of the reason of this survey is because we it's one thing for each of us to have our opinions, but we really what's more important is what does the cult think? What do you guys want? And so this survey really helped clarify a lot of that. So anyway, I think we'll dive more into it next week once all the results are in, and there's a lot to go through. I don't know, Bear Snake, did you have anything you want to say?
No, I mean, I stand in between you guys from stopping the fist fights, but you know,
Yeah,
no,
Bear Snake's
it's
like the middle
I'm
child
the middle child.
peacemaker.
I'm the middle child,
Yeah.
yeah. Which has always been my role, like in life. I rarely get like super out of sorts about something, but no, I think this is it's I know that you guys have said this, but for everyone listening, it has been a long debate and conversation. And I think to myself, like, are we getting overly philosophical? Are we complicating it? And I always end up coming back to the point of the answer is no, because I think it takes that kind of dialogue. You have to go really, really deep to find the simplest answers and solutions. And so I'm excited. The data is really interesting.
Yep, it's very cool. Yeah, I want to do more of these surveys because I just love hearing you guys' input. So Bear Snake, I noticed a slight echo on your voice, and it. Are you in your office now? Is that where the echo
Yeah.
is coming from?
Tell
Do you want
us.
to tell
It
us about
Tell us
your
is.
about the
office?
echo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, it's kind of maybe the magic machine, wizard, real life place, the first place that's going to be materialized. But yeah, I am in Los Angeles as well as Elf for the time being, and we kind of have like our first sort of real IRL place. I go here every single day. It's empty, hence the echoing. I'm not in the bathroom on Wizard Wednesday. I'm just in
Yep.
my empty office. But yeah, it's really cool. It's on the west side of Los Angeles, not too far from the ocean. Elf came and gave a visit yesterday, which was great. And I hate being the guy who's always like teasing things and not giving details, but I will do it because I think not only will it be an office, but I think there'll be an opportunity for us to build this out into a place where anyone can come in and sort of, we're talking about doing a wizard pop up shop here in Los Angeles. In the early summer, late spring, and I'm so stoked. I'm just like looking at bare walls and imagining what could be. So hopefully, if you guys are in the Los Angeles area in the coming months, we'll be able to invite you in, and there'll be some cool stuff to see.
Yep. I saw the space yesterday. It's an awesome little space. Bear Snake has some really cool plans on how to dress it all up, and he already had like 4 different projects laid out on the table that he's pursuing. And you know, Bear Snake is the kind of guy who will just like make phone calls to various people all day and just make amazing shit happen. Like lately, he's just been DMing Dotta and I saying, I've got a call with so and so. I just set up a deal with so and so. And it's just like Dotta and I are just like, oh my God, like neither of us never
Yeah,
would have been able to make these
I
things
couldn't have
happen.
done this. Yeah,
Oh shucks! Thanks.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been great. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, one of the things we like, if as we sort of have more like
Oh, I think you cut out, Dotta.
fell out of that place there. Oh,
Dotta, you,
Sorry.
you cut out.
Yeah. What'd you say? I think he's gone.
He's either messing with us or
Yeah.
his internet's going out
yeah,
as usual.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was just saying that, like, so one of the things we're working on right now is like new wizard merch, and you could imagine a scenario where in a year from now you could go visit Bear Snake's Wizard Cave and pick up some wizard merch. So that'd be really fun.
Yep. 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 Exactly. Um, Yeah. So yeah, and it's great. So Bearsnick is pursuing a lot of paths. We've talked about the IP/franchise path. That path is like the tracks are greased on that path, and I think there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming up in the next few months. But this is kind of a good segue to a thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about history repeating itself and this pattern that I'm noticing. And it's kind of related to what Bear Snake is doing. So, we're talking to legacy industry players all day, every day, just various people. Um, and from some of them, we are encountering resistance. And by that, I mean like this irrational, misguided hatred of NFTs. you know this sentiment is something I think we all have seen, and it's crazy. I think it's like bordering on mass psychosis. um we
I
got
actually don't.
shut down. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, no, I was just gonna say, like, I don't. I think we can share actually because we haven't shared who we were working with for like the D&D stuff. But the one
Okay.
example that came up today is, so we've been working with a company who we won't name because it's not, but we've been working with them to develop a D&D campaign. Bear has really been going around and about with them for like a couple of months, and they seem like really capable, really exciting. Um, and so we signed the deal with them. We like negotiated everything. We had lawyers look over everything. We get everything signed, and they said, "Hey guys, like we are so sorry." They sent us an email today, but uh, as soon as we started staffing, all of our staff found out that you were an NFT project, and they refused to work on it because they don't want to be associated with NFTs, and so we can't do it anymore. Like, we're sorry, we would do it, but our employees like revolted basically, and we're just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like we have a group of whatever 100 people that want to like play D&D in this universe with you, and you guys are D&D experts, and like you're shutting us down just because like we have NFTs. It just felt like we were so frustrated because we've been working on
Well,
this
it's
deal for
just like
months, and like
it's just like coming from an informed standpoint. I think it's like we were DMing when I got this email from them, and it was like, we're really sorry and all this stuff, and they explained why they can't do it, and and then I started taking these screen grabs from the internet of like how the internet's going to fail and email is going to fail and cars are never going to work and it's always going to be horse and carriage and electricity is the devil and and it's just I think the idea of like human nature is people tend to not feel comfortable with things that they don't fully understand
Yep.
and it's unfortunate because I think there's a lot of really amazing things. I saw a tweet the other day about and I'll probably butcher it, but it was something to the effect of okay, I'm not going to support my favorite artists using the blockchain. I'll support them on Spotify where they get 0.00001 cent every time I listen to a song, and they make $4 when I buy a T-shirt, and go like so on and so forth. Just basically like, I mean, I think all of us in our own regard, the three of us have all been starving artists at some point and we felt the heat. I worked I was a sandwich artist at Subway and lived off of like, lunch meats with no bread. And like to dismiss a new model where you can really be an independent artist and make money. And it just seems crazy to me.
It's
Yep.
weird because like this hate didn't like we didn't have the same hate with like apps or something, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, like I guess like people were thought the like email was weird, but there wasn't like this vitriol over email, or there wasn't this like same like oh I'll never use a company because they like have an iPhone app or something. And so I still haven't quite cracked that nut of like what people hate about NFTs because for me it just feels like our generation's renaissance, right? We've been creating art for free on Tumblr and Instagram and Pinterest for years. And you have these incredibly talented people who have like really terrible business models like 99 Designs, where you have to do all this like spec work and compete like it's the Hunger Games for your artwork. And then now we have this case where people love the art and want to pay. And it's just like so villainized. And I haven't
It,
quite got my head
I,
around it.
to me, it's like a perfect storm of a combination of things. Um, and I could rant about each one of those things and how I think they're all like misguided and nonsense. But the history repeating itself thing that I wanted to mention, this pattern is I'm seeing the exact parallel with the dot-com bubble. Um, and so here's what I mean. So probably most of you know the story of the dot-com bubble, but if you don't, the short version is something like this. So this new thing called the internet appeared in the early 90s, and it was actually older than that, but the thing that sort of brought it to the average consumer was the creation of this internet browser called Mosaic. um, and then shortly after that, a browser called Netscape became very popular. And Netscape just sort of took over. And then Netscape, the company went public and it had this massive valuation. And so that started this absolute frenzy of capital flowing into the space. Um, and investors were throwing money at anything with a .com in the name. And so what was essentially happening was nobody really understood what the core tech was. Nobody really understood what the internet did. They just knew that it was this like that it was something they should be speculating on, and that it had a potential to make a ton of money. Um, and so a lot of money just got thrown at this empty vaporware. And then the bubble crashed in 2001. But then you fast forward 10 years and the internet is the most world-changing technology in existence, with many of those companies that started the bubble still existing today. And they're the largest companies in human history, like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, etc. um, and so the pattern though is like the folly at that time was when people conflated the companies with the technology itself. They conflated it as the same thing, and they thought, oh, all these internet companies failed, so that must mean the internet itself is bad. It must be a fad. um, and so of course that's not true. That was utterly misguided, and I think that's what's happening now is everybody is seeing these like empty NFT projects that have no real value. They're all just like rugs, or they're made by shady people. So a lot of these devs are anonymous. And so they're thinking, oh, well, all these NFT projects are ripoffs. So that must mean that NFT tech is also a ripoff. Um, I think that's one part of it, but it is interesting how that pattern is like almost exactly one to one with what happened in the .com bubble. And I think furthermore, I think, yeah, maybe this NFT bubble will pop, but I think, fast forward 5 years and, the core tech will remain. And, some of a few companies, such as Magic Machine, that started now will endure to world domination. So sorry, D&D, should have worked with us.
Well, let's just be clear. It's not Wizards of the Coast. It's
No,
it's
no,
a
no.
third it's a third party company that
Yeah.
does like custom campaigns.
Yeah.
But with that said, we will try to hurry up and find someone else that can sort of help us. It's a shame because Elf, you had a really good creative conversation with them too, didn't you?
Yeah, one of the creators was super awesome. I don't know if she's part of the team that revolted. I don't think she was, because when I talked to her, she was cool.
Yeah.
But and I'll also say I know for a fact that other NFT projects obviously are going through the exact same thing we are. So it's not just us. This is like an industry wide thing.
But we're putting in the work though. Like, so for example, we have Nalgene who's working for us and he's doing a great job. And really what I like his purview is I've set him up to say like, let's reach out to every artist who has like posted something online and is doing something interesting and like ask them to do wizard commissions. And like, yeah, let's say half, probably more than half that find out that we're NFTs say no, but there's still a whole other half of people who say yes. And we're like getting in contact with those people and we're like getting commissions made for those people and you know we're paying market rates to those people, right? We're like helping support them and we love their artwork. So I think that's really how we kind of like move the conversation forward is by being the good example, so to speak, or just really like appreciating the art for like its inherent like beauty and value
Yep.
and paying the artist for that value. And then like we are the counter example or maybe like the at least a spearhead.
Yeah, I don't want to give the impression that everyone we're talking to is giving us the cold shoulder. Honestly, like 80 to 90% of it has been going really well.
Yeah.
And I also think like as we pivot more towards like more legacy expressions like the animation and the comic and all that stuff, then I think we're going to really easily overcome this resistance.
I'm so
Can
excited
I
about
just?
the comic.
Yeah,
Sorry,
oh
go
my
ahead.
god, the I just wanted to say real fast. You had mentioned the trailer. I just want to say we just got a new cut of like it's like in between animatic and full animation from Titmouse, and my lord, it is so flippin' awesome. I like.
Yep.
I can't. I'm going to chain myself to my desk in the Wizard Cave here on the west side, and just watch the comments, and I just can't wait. I'm so excited to show
So the
everybody.
trailer isn't complete yet. We're still in production. The plan for releasing it is to release it right around the time of Warriors. That would be the current plan. And so one of the things people have asked is like when land sale, when Warriors, and I think there's a little people are also asking, like when is Coinbase NFT? And I think all these dates are still a little bit in flux. We're trying to kind of remain flexible. But I can tell you that we've started kind of internal production on Warriors. We talk about it every day. And then also the land sale. We should get Gelder up here to talk about the game more frequently. But the game is like fully kind of underway. Like we're
Yep.
in development and he's shared a couple of like, well, this week we shared the interior scene, which is like so fun, and they have a handful of others that I just love, and so the game is underway as well. Let's see, we have a hand raised up here.
Archimedes
Hey
Merlin.
guys,
Hello.
Hi.
I was listening to you guys talking about history earlier, about how history repeats itself. And I was driving. I wanted to interrupt you guys and say that history, it doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah.
It rhymes.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Yep.
I like that a lot. That's that's a good one. I want to steal that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely rhyming with the .com bubble, you know, and all tech goes through this same pattern. I mean, like Bearsnake was saying earlier, like there's this magazine cover from 1889, and it's literally depicting electricity itself as like this like spider demon. People were terrified of electricity. Um, so yeah, you know, it's a hump. We'll get over it, but it's a little frustrating.
Yeah. Can Dotta, I know you just sort of talked about these things that are coming up. Should we talk about just like, I mean, a lot of these things are not happening like in a year. They're happening much closer than that. And although we don't have like specific dates, maybe we want to give a little clue into just, I mean, this is happening over the next like 5 months at the most,
That's right.
which is really exciting. It's all going to sort of roll out on top of each other. We're trying to sort of balance so that it all works in like harmoniously with all the different things that are happening.
So with Bisonic and the land sale, one of the kind of like anchor pieces that we've sort of decided is we want to make sure that on the day that you buy your land, you can at the very least like walk around on it and sort of see the core V1 tiles of the land that you have. Now, is that game as like multiplayer as Web3 world? Maybe not. Does it have like voice chat? Like probably not, right? But can you build your house on it that day? No. Like it's not going to have kind of the full like crafting and sort of social and questing experience on day one. But like the idea is that it's not just that you're kind of like buying a token that has like a little picture of some generic cake, like slice of cake of land, but that you actually can kind of just like walk around, look around, see what you got, kick the tires a little bit. That said, that also means that we have to have the tiles built out for that degree of the land, and make sure that the game works and that we have at least like the first connections and all of these things. So, we're not. I know that we could sell the tokens now, but we're kind of like, you know, I wouldn't say we're slow rolling it so much as just like we want it to be a little bit playable by the time we do the drop. So right now the schedule would be something like March, but it might be April. It's programming takes time.
Yep. Yep. Cool. So retired yield farmer sent me a question earlier this morning. And it really it sent my mind wandering. So I could do a big rant on that unless we have
I would
something
love
else
it.
you want. Okay.
So the magic system is something that like I have been wanting to sit down with you and talk through and for ages. So let's do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So yeah, he's asked. Well, let me just. I'll read his question verbatim. Okay. So he says, can you share how magic works for the wizards? I assume the type is tied to their runes, but trying to figure out where it comes from. Is it like chakra? Does it actually come from the runes? Do items/runes amplify what is naturally created? Yeah, that's his basic question. Yeah, I think he's just sort of like asking about like, yeah, what's the magic system? Where does it come from? Is there like a science to it? And yeah, this is a great question. And of course, I'm not going to give a straight answer, but in a way, I will. Okay, so let's see. How do I say this? This question is actually a very core question to what the Runiverse is about. It's this is something. This is a riddle that the wizards of the Runiverse are trying to solve. This is something that you will see them asking about in the show, in the comic, in all these other media expressions. This is like a very core question. How did the magic come to this world? Why do we have it? All that. Now, for me to answer that, here's what I would say. First of all, keep in mind that I am constantly trying to make the Runiverse parallel our world. And so I think the answer can largely be deducted from that. Every wizard faction in the Runiverse has a different answer, and they have different theories. So just as they are trying to figure it out, so are you, because you are the wizards. I mean that literally. Your answer will be indistinguishable from theirs. Okay, you are literally the meat space host of these wizards. You hold them inside you. You are the avatar of these beings that live in the ethereal realm. And I mean this literally. You summoned a wizard, and now it summons you. And so, as the metaverse pervades the meatverse, as these two worlds will inevitably collide and become one, the connection to the Runiverse will be more and more blurred every day. You are literally your wizard. The Runiverse is not some separate world like Middle Earth is a separate world. The Runiverse coexists alongside us. People love Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones because they have so much realism. But we are trying to do the inverse of that. We are trying to show how the magic of the Runiverse is part of our real world. Okay, we are not exporting realism to a magical world. We are importing magic to our real world. And so, like RYF, he also asked, does the magic come from the runes, and do the runes amplify it? Okay, short answer, yes. But I say yes because the items in our meat space amplify our magic. Okay, this amplification can be as practical as me wielding a paintbrush or a violin or a keyboard. These are items that I use in the magical process of creation. An object can be like inspirational. It can be an object or a muse. It can be an object of focus, like a crystal. Anything that helps you get your headspace properly attuned to magic making. In regards to the runes themselves, as we've said, they are symbols for larger concepts. So the idea of a rune is really just a metaphor for everything we do. Every piece of art is a rune. The wizards are runes. To answer you straightforwardly, yes, they can amplify or even be the source of magic. But that exact science or that exact system is yet to be discovered. Okay, let me elaborate on that. Okay, you mentioned chakra, and I assume you're referring to the magic system of Naruto. Kishimoto, he devised this really awesome science behind the magic system. He uses chakra, and I love that. His magic system is very cool. But our quote magic system is definitely not that structured, at least yet. And why is that? Because I think to answer a question like that is to try and condense all of humanity's magical practices into a concise chart. And that's just not where we are right now. This project is more about being in awe of the myriad ways that humanity has confronted the unknown. From the dawn of humanity to the 21st century, we have used everything from stones to transistors to pry into the ethereal realm and discover what lies behind the veil. This project is about that process, and it is actively contributing to it. So I can't give you the answer because I'm not the authority on where these questions will take humanity next. I certainly have my own personal ideas on where that journey will lead us. I have my own predictions, but I want to give room to the cult to push that journey forward in their own way. You guys will show me as much as I will show you. Because I'm telling you, this NFT project isn't just some video game. It's not just some closed off universe that exists in a cozy little bubble. This shit is carrying the torch of humanity back to Olympus, back to Mount Olympus. We are going deep. We are going far. The wheel of culture is barreling through our cult, and we are shifting its path ever so slightly, because that's what a wizard does. And that's all I have to say about that.
I got chills.
I hope that answers your question, retired yield farmer. It's just, it's not just a nice, neat little system. That's not what this is about. This is about carrying an ancient journey forward. This is what humanity has always done, and we are contributing to that. So there's no system because no culture in humanity has ever discovered the system. We're about the process. We're just, I think you get it. Or maybe, I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Some folks want to come up on stage, ask some questions, add some comments. Feel free to raise your hand.
Yep, for sure. And we also have a lore reading, I think, by SPZ today. So yeah, we still have about 20 minutes left.
I've got questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we got some questions from the chat. The first one comes from Snoop Dogg, and he says, Dotta, what tools do you expect the game to have to enable making new wizards related objects to encourage people who have not created before to do it for the first time? There's a lot of layers to this. So there's everything from sort of like structure within the gameplay to like all the way up to maybe even like writing lore, though I have to be careful about that. I'm not actually sure that we'll let just like anonymous players write in the book of lore, but maybe there's a spot for it. But let me answer it from the gameplay. So the kind of in the game itself, there's basically three main loops. There's like a resource gathering and loop. There's like a crafting loop and there's like a questing loop. And so within all of those areas, you'll be able to kind of customize your home, build items, paint paintings and create new things. And I think that like, how do we navigate this aspect of like, if you create, so one of the things from in the game is there will be stock player characters. So that means you don't need to own a wizard NFT to play the game. You can join the game, collect inventory, pick from sort of these stock set of characters. And one of the questions we'll have to think about is like, well, what happens when someone who owns one of these stock characters wants to kind of like develop it as like a new sort of like character of the universe? How do we think about that as a community? Like, I think really like in the beginning, those tokens will not have sort of access to write into the book of lore. Maybe there's some sort of like, but how do we think about that, right? You have this person who sort of wants to contribute, but maybe aspires to hold a wizard but doesn't yet. So I think that's really an open question. And I think another part around that really is this idea of like warriors too, is leaving an opportunity for like new people to come in. So I don't know if that answers your question. Feel free to add details in the chat. Let's see. We have another chat question from Oz about the Pilot's music, but I'm not quite sure what that is. Jeeve says, any thoughts about if a specific Forgotten Runes marketplace would be valuable? And the answer is yes. So TV, our very own TV, has been working on this. And it's pretty close, actually. I don't know exactly the details. But the idea here is that there will be almost like an OpenSea alternative that is dedicated just for like Forgotten Runes tokens, and it'll have more information like affinity and any sort of stuff we want to add. And we're still talking through, or he's still figuring out kind of the royalty situation, but instead of kind of some of the fees going to OpenSea as a platform fee, some of the fees could go directly to the community through some sort of multi-sig DAO/council. Speaking of that council, there's been some progress there. I mean, basically what we're trying to do is think about like, well, what is that best organization? How do you like stand that up? How do you make sure that it sort of has legitimacy within the community and can operate efficiently? We've made some progress on that. We'll have like more to share soon. I think that's actually all the questions that I have. Let me jump to present.
Can we? Yeah. We'll actually have a different topic, so
go for it. I'm good.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so something that I think I wanted to mention is the comic book. So I know we've talked about how it's in production and it's going really well. We have really amazing artists. We have a couple artists actually working. But I just wanted to throw out, we're kind of going down an untraditional model. And in sort of in lieu of what Alf is talking about in terms of connecting to the meat space, and I know that we're always thinking and talking about how do we extend beyond just our core community, because we really feel like there's a lot for everyone here. We're going to be, and I'm so stoked about this, we're going to be printing hundreds of thousands of comic books for our first issue, and they will be distributed for free in some really cool ways, in some events that both speak to the core comic book and sort of nerd culture. There's two in particular, one in California and then one in New York. Some call it Comic-Con. We're going to be doing some stuff at both of those, and then there's going to be an event in a moment at NFT NYC where we're going to be giving these out. And I just like the idea of I'm just imagining a crate of hundreds of thousands of comics coming to the office, and me just keeling over out of happiness. I am so excited, but the fact is, I don't even know if anyone's ever done what we're planning to do. But the fact that we're printing hundreds of thousands of copies and giving them out for free, I'm just so excited, and I think people are going to be really pleasantly surprised at not only just the comic, but the meaning behind it, and of course the way we always do. There's going to be some fun little sort of surprises along the way with the book. So that's something that I know I've been spending a lot of time with. The whole team has been spending time on, and so that's something to keep a lookout for. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, when we talk about these deals that Bear Snake's able to get, that neither Elf nor I were, it's along these lines. And so, for context for this, right, I'm sure you've seen a lot of other NFT projects are trying to build comic NFTs, and we support that. That's interesting. It's cool. Comic books have a long history of being collectible, and of course, that's a natural fit for NFTs. But by the same, I'll say by the same token, we didn't want to turn these into tokens. We didn't want to turn these into kind of this, again, this insular, isolated, expensive, exclusive token that only really, only a small community could enjoy. We're building a comic and we want kind of Forgotten Runes to sort of cross the chasm into popular culture, and so we really feel like printing these comics in a way that's accessible to a lot of people and just handing them out, and then having some kind of call to actions there. Be like, look, here's how to get your first NFT. Do you like this comic? We have a really cool community. Come join it. So I can't be more excited.
Yep. That's the point of 200,000 copies or more, is to get into the mainstream. And I'm hoping, I'm sure every wizard will also get a copy. But yeah, this is what the franchise push is all about. It's getting that mainstream audience into Forgotten Runes.
Yeah.
We'll try to figure out a way that everyone can get them.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely make it fluid for the cult. But we also have we're not ready to sort of announce it yet, but we have a really, really awesome partner that's coming in with a comic book that will sort of tie in on sort of a layered level. So that'll be fun for you guys when we can sort of announce
that. Real quick,
I wanted to include a Wizards Cult tract, but I thought that maybe that'd be a little much.
What do you mean a Wizards Cult tract?
Include a what? Yeah.
Like a religious tract. Am I the only person that knows this term, tract, where it's like a little pamphlet that's would you like to know more about our cult?
Oh,
maybe that's crossing a line.
Yeah. No, you mean how the Mormons always have books that they're giving out, and
they're Scientologists.
Those things?
Every religion does it. Yeah, it's an effective way. So
yeah. No, I think we should do that, and I want it to be as creepy as possible, please.
I'm not sure I'm ready.
Tim Smith likes it.
Surprise.
I just wanted to quickly say, if you are scheduled to read lore, then raise your hand and we'll bring you up. So yeah, because we have about 10 minutes left. But yeah, no, the comic is going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
It's just going to do so many things beyond just a comic, you know. But yeah, let's see what else. Okay, Sorcerer Elias, aka SPZ, is added as a speaker, our first lore reader for the day.
Spizz.
Hello.
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
Okay.
hi.
Hey, sorry, my thing cut off there for a second. Great. So I have to apologize beforehand because I'm a bit sick with the good old Rona.
Oh,
Sorry.
So sorry if my voice is a bit scratchy. I actually wanted to bring some of my own lore for once this time, but unfortunately, my kids and I have been down for a couple of weeks. But what I do have is two lovely lore pieces that I've written for two great other wizards in the community.
all right.
And these are kind of fun. They're slightly juxtaposed because and slightly less sinister, I guess, than the ones I've read before. Where one of these is kind of returning home and the other one is kind of leaving home. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this in the chat in the Secret Tower real quick for those that want to read along. I know that can be nice for some. So there's the lore. Let me drop in the wizard quick so somebody can see him. Okay, so there we go. So the first piece is eggplant of the sea, Magus eggplant of the sea. I wrote this for Keshmar. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start off with a prologue again here. Young of mind and wild of heart, as is the way of youth, I had been caught up in the chase for the next coin, the next conquest, the greener pasture. So caught up was I in my own machinations of advancement that as I ventured for yet another thrill, one more win, vying for change and novelty, I had not noticed the ancient figure beside the road until we were nearly upon him. Ho, old man, I hailed him as I came to a halt, smiling down at his grizzled face. The hour grows late, yet here you sit. Shan't you find succor afore nightfall? I still remember to this very day the cast of his eyes as he met my eager gaze. They seemed to bore into my soul, and yet silent he remained. Chagrined, I barreled on. Have you grown roots, that your rump is now attached to that stump? At this, my companions, sycophants one and all, snickered and giggled. My ruse, however, failed, and he merely shrugged and stood. Careful of tearing down the fence, my child, afore you comprehend why it were raised to begin with, he finally said, voice strong as a sturdy sapling. With that, he sat back down, his dismissal obvious. What heraldry is this? Suit yourself, I said sourly as I urged my mount forward. In our wake remained the old man, his gnarled fingers wrapped around his staff, his eyes shining with earnest experience, with parting words I would never forget. That was from the journal Folly of Youth by Eggplant, and the story continues. The voyage across the salt had taken longer than expected, the seas seemingly unwilling to relinquish the hold she had held over him for near a decade, eager to keep him tight to her bosom, her deep bosom, her seduction a lulling caress of brine and bounty. It may just be imagination, but there was a maternal quality to the sensation, and why not? The vast, briny expanse had lulled him to sleep countless times, witnessed his greatest victories, and stood vigil of his metamorphosis from boisterous boyhood to a man of discipline and steely will. However, steadfast he now remained in his new chosen path. His taste for conquest had turned from sated to indifferent to an unfamiliar sense of shame. How ironic that only once your belly was full to bursting, all your aspirations met with plenty to spare, only then could one feel futility and true emptiness. Captain Jiro had, of course, also been reluctant to let his once overly ambitious, recalcitrant, and insatiable first mate go, but once decided, his will was indomitable, and the captain had grudgingly, with typical disgruntled and sour demeanor, accepted his request to return home. The change in him felt profound, all the more so for the suddenness of its merciless strike, and yet here, on the docks where his journey into the unknown had begun, everything else seemed the same. His cape flapping in the stiff breeze, book of magic tucked under one arm, Eggplant set out to retrace his steps, to reclaim what he had, for the temporary lure of greatness beyond the next rise, too freely given up. "Surely my eyes betray me," a voice shouted nearby, accompanied by the slap of feet. After traversing the docks into the town proper, the cobbled streets familiar in ways that guided his feet subconsciously, he had exited to the west and was deep in thought as he was suddenly tackled to the ground. "Ah!" he exclaimed, his magic instinctively rushing to his fingertips, his alignment with air, such a boon on the seas when the winds were unfavorable, causing enough of a stir to rustle leaves and scatter birds. "It's really you, Eggy!" came the trilling laughter. Rolling clear, the incantation dying on his lips, his jaw dropped as he got a good look at his assailant. "Little Purple, is that really you?" he exclaimed, taken aback at the figure before him, stranger and yet familiar. When he had set out, with everything to gain and seemingly nothing to lose, and how wrong he had been then, his little sister had been but a wee spud. "Let me have a look at you," he exclaimed, rushing forward. "You'll have to catch me first. Mom and Dad will be so delighted," she squealed and split for the forest path up ahead. "You're not going to believe what they've done with your room." And with that she was off, leaving Eggplant with no choice but to follow in her wake, to continue retracing his errant steps one at a time. All right. Excuse me.
I love that we finally get a story about the aubergine wizards.
Yeah, they're good.
Parentheses, the eggplant wizard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad we finally got one. That's one of my favorite wizards. And I did not steal that from Nintendo. It's the aubergine. It's the aubergine wizard, not the eggplant wizard.
Nice.
Okay, continue.
So, yeah. Okay. Great. Fantastic. It was great. Keshmar has been he's a fantastic wizard, and I was very happy to write that for him. And so here's the next one. This is for a guy called Maze in the chat, and the wizard in question is actually in the Book of Lore. The one I just read for you is actually going to change a bit. We're going to be doing a revamp with some cool graphics. But so this one is for a fun imp called Diviner Pezzo of the Dunes. Prologue. This collection of scientific experiments are intended as a starting point for those as committed as I to unravel the mysteries of the phenomenon most wizards have come to take for granted. The familiar bond has been studied, at length I may add, by scholars, alchemists, and thaumaturges alike, and yet the nature of this elusive sacrament remains largely a mystery even in this modern age. Ancient relics and tomes, now well protected and jealously guarded by the Blues, seem as varied as they are confounding, and should you be dedicated to study these papers in depth, you certainly will gain valuable insights, though I fear, as seems with most knowledge, as the final page is turned, you may find that the more you know, the less you understand. However, one thing unifies all theorizing on the nature of the bond. Once forged, only death may break it, though some conjecture would indicate that even then the connection remains, and both familiar and wizard must enter the bond willingly. I have found obscure references to a bond being transferred, but at this point I have concluded it mere fantasy. Taken from a foreword of The Nature of the Familiar Bond by an anonymous scholar. Story continues. Waking before dawn had its advantages, in addition to the obvious disadvantages of a heavy head, sore back, and watery eyes. This early, the sky, barely showing a hint of purple, had yet to banish the night and reveal the unrelenting heat from its ever-burning eye. The sands blessedly cool underfoot, the air crisp and refreshing. Trotting along towards the well, Pezzo allowed himself a moment to enjoy the calm and tranquility, an illusion he knew would quickly enough be dispelled by bickering and bouts of laughter in equal measure. It's not that he didn't love his three sisters. He dearly did. They were simply much more cunning and had the unnerving tendency to somehow always get the better of him, outmaneuvering him at every turn. Then, as happened every morning when his mother's shouting began, it was squarely directed his way. But Pezzo, the only man of the house, had gladly accepted the role of peacemaker and diffuser, nimbly navigating the tumultuous currents of sibling rivalry and womanly guiles, weaving the unwilling threads of his volatile family into a harmonious tapestry. Lowering the bucket into the damp darkness below, he again heard the soft sound of wings furling and feathers settling. The unusual fledgling had suddenly appeared a fortnight ago and had since unfailingly joined him on his morning ritual, perched quietly in the palm tree above him. Initially, he had been affronted and unwilling to share these fleeting and intimate moments of calm, and had done his best to scare the intruder away. However, the large owl would simply tilt its head questioningly and stare down at him with those enormous, luminescent eyes. Grudgingly, he had come to accept its presence, those feelings of privacy invaded, instead stirring up a deep sensation of companionship and familiarity. Not to mention the fact that the strange raptor, very much like himself, was entirely out of its element, indeed an oddity out here in the unforgivingly dry desert. He knew that other imps existed, of course they did, but far away in the forests to the north. However, Pezo had never laid eyes on anyone outside his own family with the same verdant skin, wide mouth, and horned skull. We don't really belong out here, he thought to himself as he studied his reflection in the bucket slowly being raised up to bring the ladle to his parched lips. "Are you thirsty, strange one?" he asked, once his thirst was quenched. He had taken to speaking to the owl, yet, much like his initial outbursts of "shoo," his attempts at coaxing a reply from the thing had all gone unanswered. Which is why, as he lowered the second bucket down, he was wholly unprepared for the strong voice suddenly exploding in his head. "Yes, indeed, I am, very much so," the voice said, as he fell to his knees, hands over his ears. The splash of the bucket far below went unnoticed as Pezo looked up, his eyes locking on the twin orbs of gold. You speak?" he croaked, getting to his feet. "Of course I do. And, as I said, I am quite thirsty. Rather rude, don't you think, to drop that bucket?" came the voice again, and he realized to his wonder that the bird's beak had not moved. "But never you mind, young Pezo, for the time to leave has come." "You're leaving now?" he asked, nonplussed. "No, we are leaving now," the owl punctuated, spreading its wings slowly, and Pezo had never realized just how big the thing was until now. "I don't understand. Where will we go? Besides, my mother and my sisters require my presence here as the tavern opens in a few hours." Pezo had no intention of going anywhere. The Sands and his family were home. "Your mother knew the cost when the bargain was struck. We have held up our end, and I have come to claim my price. You, Pezo. I had hoped you had manifested by now, but no matter. This may hurt just a bit, my child, since the bond must be transferred," the bird continued, wings spread even wider, eyes akin to brilliant stars glowing brighter and brighter. It started as a ringing in his ears, his skin tingling as it often did before the seasonal storms hit, the earth moving beneath his feet as though riddled with serpents, until his vision narrowed to those two distant singularities, bright as distant stars, until they too were gone. That's it.
Very cool.
Very great.
Thanks.
And that was I think that might have been the first imp story we've ever had as well.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That was
fun because like the kobolds are so prominent, but rarely do the imps get the spotlight. And I've always wondered if there's antagonism between these two cohorts, or are they friends, or I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah. Thanks. Anyways.
Thank you, SPZ. Smarter Child, do you have lore for us?
Hey, what's up, Wizard fam?
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, I do have a lore for you guys, but I don't know how to follow that though.
Oh, don't worry about that. Everybody's lore is it's their own thing. So as long as you're speaking your truth and you stay original to who you are, then it's going to be great.
For sure. Yeah, I wrote a lore for Hugin. Is that how you say it? Hugin? Like the guy with the mask?
Yes. I think this is the first time we've heard lore for that character as well. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So my wizard's name is Adept Jean Leon of the Tower. So I've been collecting, well, I have two wizards and they're both of the Tower. So I plan to do like a lore series on describing like what the secret tower is.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. So, Gene Leon, Trader of Souls. All his life, all that Gene Leon knew was the secret tower. Gene Leon's very first memory was when he first found Misty, his feline familiar, waking him from the haziness of hunger and feeding him with a dead rat. From that point onwards, it was always Gene Leon and Misty against the world. Growing up, Gene Leon mostly kept to himself and stayed away from the other secret tower or orphans. He traded and he stole to survive, same as everyone, but he always knew how to make a profit. By the age of 16, Gene Leon has traded his way up and brought his first seller in the tower. While Gene Leon revered in his accomplishment, Misty was growing weaker throughout the years. In an effort to seek remedy for Misty, Gene Leon decides to scour the tower and find a cure for Misty. One should never underestimate the secrets hiding within the tower, for the tower has endless corridors and endless secrets. Yeah, so here I'm kind of alluding to there are treasure hunters that came to the tower at first, and these treasure hunters just kind of got lost in the tower and never found their way out, and like a community just started growing inside of the secret tower, and they
That's
can't
great.
find an exit for the tower.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
On the night of the 13th moon, Gene Leon uncovers the skull mask from a dungeon. On the mask, he finds this inscription: a drop of blood for a window into the soul. Blood? Gene Leon thought. My blood? In his mind, Gene Leon knew the mask needed his blood on secrets. Something deep within him knew he needed to do this to save Misty. Gene Leon slowly put on the mask, but nothing happens. He grabbed his pocket and slides his right cheek. With blood flowing down his face, the mask quickly reacted. An instant flew to Leon's face and enveloped his skull, digging deep into his brain. For a moment, Gene Leon saw the sky beyond the tower, something he thought he would never see. When Gene Leon regains consciousness, he finds Misty on the ground, lifeless. Besides Misty's gray fur, a white familiar resembling Misty's movements flowed and twirled in the air. Gene Leon immediately recognized his lifelong friend. The mask has granted Gene Leon sight to the world of souls.
I love it.
Yep, that's super fun. That's
I
I
really,
love.
I
Go ahead.
really love the part which is a drop of blood for a window into the soul. That is like so deeply true in many ways, right? That this idea that you go out and you contend with the chaos of the universe, and like maybe you get beat up and so you lose some blood, but you learn something about yourself. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of gives like a backstory to the Hugin head as well as to like maybe there are different masks scattered through the universe and random people just, you know, find them and then they just get hooked onto different people because they spilled blood on it.
Wow,
Amazing.
super fun. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I love how you guys are just making this world bigger and bigger every day. That's the whole point of this project, and I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it because I certainly am.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are over time. So, Dotta Bearsnick, do you have anything left?
I'm good.
Take care of yourself, SPZ. Drink water, get some sleep.
Thanks, man. Will do.
Yeah, I heard Big Potion might have a cure for your affliction. So,
Perfect.
other people say Big Potion is evil. So I don't know,
Be
man.
sure to get a triple dose.
Thanks.
Everybody have
Okay,
a great week.
this has been Elf, Dotta, Bear Snake, Sorcerer Elias, Smarter Child, channeling out from the Quantum Downs. Good night, everybody.